Good morning, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with a look at powerful Hurricane Matthew now moving through the Bahamas. The eye cleared out just for a little bit in the overnight hours, now obscured just a little bit by cloud cover. The only good news here is, to me, this sort of oval shape bent back to the southeast. Maybe that a sign that it won't get too much stronger, but I don't want to put too much into that because even in 12 hours, unbelievable things can happen. Heck, even over the course of 6 hours. Either way, it could weaken dramatically, it could get stronger dramatically. Overall, the cloud presentation still shows us a very strong hurricane moving through the Bahamas, very close to Nassau now, between Nassau, which is here, and Andros Island here, moving northwest closer to the coast of Florida. This area up here looks like the likely impact for the core, or the strongest winds right around this eye here. And anything in the central dense overcast area moving in through here is going to be very heavy rain. These bands moving out ahead of it also. I mean, everything's just going to deteriorate from here. So if you have any preparations that need to be made along the southeast coast of Florida, you have about 6 hours to get them done, and then you need to be done and hunker down. The latest forecast from the 5 a.m. advisory over the next several days. First of all, the intermediate update indicating 125 miles per hour on the winds, and that's forecast to go up another 20 miles per hour to 145, a solid Category 4, as it makes this extremely close approach to the Florida coastline, maybe making landfall right over the coast itself, where basically you have to get the lowest pressure center inland, and that's a landfall. Otherwise, they call it a strike or something like that. It's all technicalities, but for the people along the coast, the effects won't be that much different if it makes landfall proper, by the book, or if the core is 5 miles offshore. These unbelievable winds, probably one of the strongest systems to affect this area, will just hammer the region very, very hard. Storm surge is a big problem. High waves, the winds. I mean, it's just, from here on out, is dangerous. And people need to make sure they are not anywhere near the beach for this, and not in poorly constructed structures, and are not traveling. For goodness sakes, no driving around during this. I don't even want to hear about that. I'm not going to do that once this gets going. I'm going to be hunkered down myself. Let's take a look at a map at where this might impact. Landfall could take place anywhere from West Palm Beach here up to Fort Pierce, Vero Beach maybe, and then Melbourne, Palm Bay, Titusville, and certainly the Cape, all at risk for this to actually, sort of come in and then maybe just scrape the coast as it moves north. But again, if the eye, as an example, let me just scoot the map south a little bit so we can look farther to the north. Let's just say that the eye of the hurricane is about right here, then your core of maximum winds will be something like that. As an example, this isn't exactly right. And so you're getting northeast winds near New Smyrna Beach coming around this system, just as an example here, and you're in the core of the hurricane for the most part. So, the difference between whether the eye comes over and looks like this and just offshore, yeah, I mean, it'll spread those hurricane winds farther inland, but for the coastal areas, these beautiful coastal areas that everybody likes to visit, right along the beachfront, this is essentially going to be a landfall for you, and absolutely dangerous Category 4 possible conditions. And we better hope it doesn't reach Category 5 in the very, very warm water that exists just offshore here in those last several hours, in the overnight hours going through what we call, it could pulse up, okay, the diurnal maximum overnight, Dmax as we call it. It can ramp up. It seems to try to do that at night, and it's hard to explain why. But don't sit here and go, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens. That's ridiculous when you're dealing with something like this, and it's not moving very fast, so these conditions are going to be around for a while, unfortunately. The rainfall, really starting to see some excessive amounts here along the immediate coastline, especially for the Carolinas. These yellows are 10 inches plus, 10 to 15 inches, eastern South Carolina and eastern to southeast North Carolina, spreading pretty tight gradient, but several inches of rain all the way back into the sand hills. It goes without saying that along the east coast of Florida there's going to be very heavy rain. It's a hurricane. That's what you should expect. But in some cases, close to a foot of rain could fall. Looking at the radar, this is going to start to become more and more important. You should follow me, among other people, on Twitter, as I will be posting radar snapshots, screenshots from my iPhone. I use Radar Scope, and I can point things out using the little drawing tool that it's got on there. But you can also go to weather.gov and check out the radar tab, and there's a big national picture, and you can clearly see the spiral nature to the hurricane, the eye, the center of it sitting down here. So this is going to come into range more and more throughout the day, and each of these bands will get progressively stronger as this moves up the coast, and then you're going to see heavy rain start to spread out into this region due to the interaction of the hurricane with the front that's coming through, that trough. So yeah, this is it. This is when it comes in onto the stage, so to speak, so that we can see it coming into radar range of United States radar. This is where it really starts to happen. What am I going to be doing today? I'm going to set out equipment. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to need the tower, because I have found a couple of spots where I can just put this part and anchor it down solidly, and then all the data feeds into this box and it gets transmitted as long as the cellular network stays up. And there's a chance with it being this strong that the cellular data network could go down. And so we'll hope for the best and have the data coming out and feeding into the app and elsewhere as long as possible. But don't yell at me if the cellular network goes down. There's just nothing I can do about that. And you say, well, you could use satellite. Yeah, you really can't use satellite data through the thickness of a hurricane. The rain tends to eat up that signal. It's not impossible, but it's also very expensive. And so we use terrestrial networks. And yes, they are vulnerable to Category 4 hurricanes, unfortunately. But we'll think positive, and hopefully this will give us the data live. It'll record the data no matter what. But I know everybody wants to see it live, and so we're going to hope for the best. What does it look like? This is our app, Hurricane Impact. These are different examples of where the data has fed into the app. You get the wind speed, the wind gust, the pressure, and then there is a picture that gets updated. This is actually storm surge in Gulfport, Mississippi during Isaac, the very first year that we had the app. Here's an example from Sandy in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And then up in New Jersey, it's tilted like this because the ocean, as you can see, was moving through and actually was hitting what I had the equipment attached to, and it eventually ripped it apart and destroyed it. I had it just a little too close to the ocean. I won't have that problem here. I'm actually going to put one of the weather stations on the Intracoastal Waterway right on the bridge, about 35 feet above the ICW there, going into New Smyrna Beach. So it'll be chained down, anchored. It would take 200-mile-an-hour winds to rip it off. And the wind didn't rip it off up in New Jersey. It was that storm surge. So this is what you can expect if you have the app. It's iOS and Android, and this works well in both versions. The iOS version, the video tab, has some issues, and we'll try to get onto that later on. It's all a matter of funding and paying to keep it developed and up to date. But the data, if you want to see live data, you should get our app, Hurricane Impact, because that's what it's all about, showing you the impact. This is the anemometer. It's an R.M. Young anemometer, one of the best in the world. You don't go to the mall and buy this at Brookstone, folks. This is something, it's about a $1,500 anemometer. It is a precision scientific piece of equipment. That's the little camera right there that sends back the pictures. It's not video. We do have video in our iOS version, but this sends back a picture, so that's what you see when you see these pictures here. That's coming from that little camera right there. So this is going to be something else, to be able to see the data in real time. And then we do have live video on hurricanetrack.com via our Ustream feeds, free of charge. I will post all of those links on the hurricanetrack.com homepage as they come live, but it also feeds conveniently into our app. And let me pull up that slide. I forgot once again, not doing my job right. So yes, we do have the feeds that go into the app. This is what the camera box looks like. Slightly larger than a lunchbox. Yes, that's snow. This is when I deployed it in New Jersey for that big blizzard last January. This is up in Seaside Heights, and it's a very small case, has a camera inside, a Wi-Fi hotspot using the terrestrial data network, cellular, and it provides an incredible picture. And I say picture, it's moving video with audio. Can you imagine what this is going to sound like? Let me give you an example. This is what it was like during Hermine from that same box. This is Hurricane Hermine in Cedar Key, Florida. So that's what this does. Yep. So I'm going to set 4 of these out if I have time, certainly 3. There's one up in Charleston, but it's going to run out of battery power before the worst of the effects get there, unfortunately. There's only so much I can do. It's got a 66-hour pack, and I set it up yesterday afternoon, and it'll run out before the worst gets to Charleston. But, you know, what can I do? I'm just one person. But these cameras, I've got 4 of these down here in Florida. And thinking about, if we look back at the map here of the landfall possibilities, certainly one in New Smyrna Beach where the eye could be sitting right on top, and then hopefully points south from there. And if I have time, maybe one up here near St. Augustine or somewhere. So I got a lot to do today to kind of drop these out right along the coast, giving you a front row seat to the most incredible immersion into the hurricane that you could ever want, to satisfy the curiosity of what's happening. And the beauty of this, these are unmanned, using technology to solve a problem, and that problem is showing people what the hurricane does in a way that they've never seen it before. And there's other webcams out there, I realize that, but these are set out specifically for the hurricane. So, I'll post stuff to YouTube, so please keep subscribing. It's awesome, the response that I've gotten. I appreciate it. I wish I could respond to all of the comments, but again, I'm just one guy trying to do this. It's hard to keep up with everything. I do have help, but I am the face of this, and it's hard to do everything. I'm not complaining. It's just it is what it is. But anyway, also on Twitter, follow on Hurricane Track. I will be posting a lot more to Twitter, and that being said, our Twitter feed feeds into the app in Hurricane Impact, both for Android and for iOS. That part works just fine on both platforms. So anything that I post on Twitter gets automatically published to the app, so you don't have to keep going back and forth to your Twitter app. It's all aggregated right in our app. You just have to refresh it and keep it up to date. That being said, the video section of Hurricane Track, of Hurricane Impact, just came out yesterday, an update from Apple. We now have live video. All of our live video will feed into the app. So, I'm going to plug it because I think it's going to be a very powerful tool for you to watch what's happening. Search 2 words, Hurricane Impact, on the App Store and in Google Play, and you will be able to follow along as I do what I do best, and that is cover hurricanes. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but it's, this is what I do. I've been doing it for 20 years plus, and I think I do a pretty good job, especially considering the shoestring budget we have. Oh, several people have asked, is there a way that they can make a contribution? I want to just address that real quick without making too much of a sales pitch. Yes, you can certainly send a PayPal contribution, donation, whatever you want to call it. You can log into PayPal, and my PayPal is real easy. It's posters with an S, posters at hurricanetrack.com. That's my PayPal address, posters at hurricanetrack.com, and you can send a donation or whatever. That's, several people have asked, and hey, I appreciate it. But I think, just getting the app, crowdfunding like that, and then you get something in return immediately that's really amazing and cool to watch, that shows you what's happening. Either way, I appreciate the support. It definitely helps. All right, well, that's it for the produced updates like this for now. Any future updates that I post to YouTube and to the app will be in the field and just kind of addressing conditions, maybe looking at the iPad or something. And then this evening, when I get settled in, I will do another produced update like this. All right? I know this was lengthy, but there was a lot to cover. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks so much for watching. It's go time down here in Florida, and I'll have much more for you, not only live on the HurricaneTrack.com homepage later on, but also throughout the rest of the period here. Good luck to everybody in Florida, and I'll see you from out there in the field.